y'all, I'm Ellen. We've been super inspired by our journeys of self-healing and discovery.
And I'm Sam, and we want to share our experiences with you to help you get curious about yourself, reconnect, and get intentional about your life so you know what makes you happy.
Welcome to Woo New, the podcast. Hey everyone, today we're talking to a human design reader, which is a fascinating topic to both of us. We really didn't know much about it until we talked to Mehdy of Creative Collective LA. What did you think of human design?
I don't know. I guess in my mind, I sort of parallel that with looking at your natal chart.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I know they're totally different, I find them both really fascinating lenses to sort of analyze what are your go-to tendencies, what are some things that sort of bubble up when you're imbalanced and things aren't going well and you're stressed out, and then how do you sort of just inherently approach problems to, you know, address challenges and rise above them and navigate through the world. And I just found it very enlightening.
It was really interesting for me to see my human design chart for the first time. I'm a manifesting generator,
which did not surprise me at all. I was like, I knew for sure you were going to be some kind of manifestor. I was like, this shit just happens.
Well, it doesn't feel like it just happens. I feel like I go through the ringer and then something pops out. But yeah, like looking at the chart, it actually looks like a flow chart that's sitting within your human body, you know, and you have these like spaces that are filled in and spaces that are not filled in. And Mara went through the meaning behind all of that. But yeah, I found that like just as she walked through our charts and explained what, you know, filled in things meant and not filled in things meant, and like what all these different energy centers were and stuff like that, which kind of aligns to the chakra system, but not 100%. It really helped me to understand how best to work, almost like how best, you know, that like how to like tap into just my natural way of working. And I think maybe I just, you know, was looking at it more from a productivity standpoint.
It does feel more Western in a weird way.
Yeah, and I don't even know if I would necessarily define it in that way. Like it was almost kind of more like because maybe I was like a manifesting generator and because there's certain, you know, like I saw that my like sacral energy center was filled in. I started realizing like, okay, when I get a gut reaction to something, that's usually leading me in the right direction, you know, and usually I have those like doubts, I guess, when it comes to things in my career or my work or whatever that may be, you know, and I do with people too, but like, you know, or relationships, but most of the time it's usually, you know, work related where I'm like, I don't know about this or whatever, you know, or I second guess my gut a lot of times, you know what I mean? And so understanding that, I was like, oh, okay. So whenever I get a little tinge or something, like some sort of gut reaction to something, I should really listen to it. And it's, you know,
that's an interesting perspective, because as a generator, I mean, my chart was like, in a weird way, very similar to yours, and in a weird way, polar opposite of yours.
Mm-hmm.
But my sacral was filled in too, which is interesting because I should hone in on that more, because I was thinking about that a lot less, but it does make total sense, because anytime that I've had that feeling and I haven't listened to it, like I've regretted it afterwards.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, okay, this is a big lesson I'm learning now. Thank you.
Yeah. And the way she was explaining herself too, like having these hits of intuition, you know, like, and listening to that as a projector, or, you know, as somebody who has, I forget what part of it was filled in or not filled in. Yeah. I was just like, whoa, this is really fascinating.
Yeah. I also liked that after looking through my chart, she sort of helped illuminate some things for me. Like I had so many open energy centers that she was like, you're a generator, but your chart is almost more like a reflector.
Mhm.
And that helped me really sort of wrap my head around like, okay, why, even though I know that I'm in most cases in these categories, I feel very much like I'm sort of out in these other categories and I'm sort of navigating these in between waters.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it's cool that she was able to break it down to that level to help show that, like, even though this is the group, the overall group, like there are nuances.
Right, right. And I liked how technical it was. It was almost like it took all the emotion out of it, and it was just like,
Yeah.
"This is how you work. This is how you
Yeah.
operate," you know? I love that.
Just very matter of fact. It was super cool.
To somebody who has never heard of the term human design, like, how would you even describe it?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, because human design is sort of rather new, it was actually came into the consciousness around 1987. So it is like a newer modality, but basically what it is it's a blend of several different modalities. So it blends like Eastern and Western astrology, the Hindu chakra system. It blends the Kabbalah and the Chinese I Ching. So
So
it's sort of a composite of all of these different things. And really and honestly, the intention behind human design is like getting us back to our most authentic self, right? So, human design teaches that basically when we're born, we are at our most authentic self. And then, like, throughout the years, we go through, we pick up conditioning. So, it's like conditioning from people around us, from school, from our parents, from society, from the media. So, what human design really does is like try and get us back to that core self and helps us really align with that. And the way that it does that is through something called a body graph. And you can go and get your free body graph. You can go to my website or you can go to mybodygraph.com and get your own custom body graph. But it's basically based on your birth day, time, and place, right? So essentially, if you don't have that info, you can guess, but really it should be like as accurate as possible. And so then you plug it in, and then the system generates sort of a body graph. It kind of looks like it looks like a little mini human with a bunch of different colored shapes.
it's like a flow chart.
Yeah.
It's a really it looks way more complicated. I mean, I guess it is kind of complicated, but yeah, I was so intimidated when I first saw this thing. I was like, what is
Totally.
this?
Yeah. So it generates this, and then based on that, it kind of tells you like the different ways that your energy interacts with the world around you. It talks about your life purpose. It talks about some strategies, so like life strategies, and sort of how it's best for you to kind of interact with the world. So yeah, it's really and honestly like such an amazing tool for just kind of giving you like a roadmap to becoming that really true, authentic person.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Can you break down the types of what do you even call it? Like human designs, I
Yeah,
guess?
so they're
That
energy types. So there's 5 main energy types. And what I always say about the energy types is that it's similar to an astrology, how, when you first start learning about astrology, you sort of learn what your sun sign is, right? So like I'm Scorpio, and you learn that. And then as you peel back the layers, you start learning the different, your moon sign, and then you learn about your rising sign and the planets, etc. So similar to astrology in that sense, human design has these 5 main categories of energy type. Okay. And it's about how your energy interacts with the world. So the first type is called manifestors. Manifestors are about 8% of the population. The manifesting type is really here to initiate. So manifestors come into the world and they tend to be kind of polarizing figures. They have a lot of that creation energy, right? And so, like, for example, like Frida Kahlo is a manifestor, Maya Angelou is a manifestor. So they're all great examples of people that have really came here and like started revolutions and been able to really change the world.
oh.
Um, And so then there's generators. So generators are the majority of the population. And generators are broken into two categories. So there's pure generators, which is what you are, Sam, and then manifesting generators, which is what you are, Ellen. And so generators total are about 70% of the population. Okay. So pure generators, they're sort of the alchemists, right? So they're here to really come and like do the work, but not just like do the work and like be sort of like the like workhorse. It's more about doing what they love, right? And doing things that inspire them and really honing those skills and those practices. So like some examples of generators would be like Beyonce, right? Or even like J-Lo, you know, like watching the Super Bowl performance last night, I was like, oh, she's totally generator because she is so like, she's just a powerhouse. And you could tell like she was so lit up by what she was doing. And so that's like such a great example because basically when generators are lit up and excited, like they light up everybody around them. So the key thing for generators is truly and honestly like finding that thing that you love and, you know, and doing that thing and shining your light for everybody else to see. And then there's manifesting generators, which are sort of a combination of a manifestor and a generator. They do have some of that manifesting initiating energy and the generating energy as well. So the generating energy is more, would be sort of being this jack of all trades. And I think I told you this in your reading, where it's like, you basically come in and you don't necessarily have to do one specific thing. You can do many different things. And we all can, of course, but the thing with manifesting generators is that they have the sustainable energy to do all of those things. Whereas non-energy types like manifestors and then projectors and reflectors don't have a ton of that sustainable energy. Okay. So generators and manifesting generators are the only two types that have this defined sacral chakra, which is that motor center. Okay. Then, so then the fourth type would be projectors. That's what I am. Projectors are here. We're sort of the guides. We are not necessarily here to do the work, but more to like guide and help people. Projectors are really great at seeing connections. Projectors are really great at sort of taking a situation and saying like, this is a way somebody can be more efficient. They're sort of like the visionary, right? So the thing with projectors also is that projectors have their life strategy is really to wait for the invitation. Okay. So waiting for the invitation is really about being seen and really about being recognized for what they're doing before they can like create or do anything or interact with the world. And for generators and manifesting generators, the strategy is to respond. And I think we talked about this too, but the responding strategy, I think a lot of generators and MGs get hung up on this because it's basically like, it's very confusing. Everybody kind of thinks like, should I just sit on the couch and not do anything and just wait to respond to everything? But that's not the energy at all. It's actually like waiting to respond means waiting for like signs or waiting for like that response that you get inside of you that creates like an impulse to act, right?
So it's external or internal, whether it's like a global change, societal change, or whatever, or it's like some sort of I don't know, sign from the universe or message that you feel like you're suddenly getting.
Totally.
Okay.
And it is that magic because when generators and MGs are doing what they love, like those sort of magical energies will be attracted to them and will gravitate towards them. So it is also just kind of being open to that. And manifestors strategy is to inform. And that's because manifestors do have a lot of this very polarizing energy. And oftentimes they sort of want to bulldoze through things. And so really for manifestors, it's about explaining that this is what I'm doing right now. and people can kind of get on your train or they can not get on the train, and that's okay. So, and then the final type is reflectors. And
Wait, before you go into reflectors, do you know any like projectors that are?
Oh, yeah. So, projectors that, famous projectors, well, Obama is a very famous example. Abraham Lincoln, also a projector. So there are very powerful figures and figures who have been able to enact change that are projectors, even though the whole thing is they're not the doers. But if you think about it, one example, like being Obama, he was elected in order to really guide the country. And so that was sort of his invitation um, to give his advice and to be that leader that he could be, because he was actually invited. He was recognized and he was seen. So,
wow, I never thought about it that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's really interesting too, because it's like his whole makeup, like as his mother, his father, like, his whole life story, everything about him. That's really fascinating. It's not like necessarily what he did. It is just who he is inherently.
Yeah. And so Obama he's such a great example of a projector, and like that projector energy where he was able to kind of come in and like see ways that the country could be more efficient, right? And so that's basically like one of the big things with being a projector, is being able to see those connections.
That's right.
And then, so just finishing up the final type, reflectors. So, and projectors are about 20% of the population, give or take. The final type is reflectors. They're 1% of the population, very, very small percentage. Reflectors are here and they're truly the karmic mirror. So with reflectors, all of their energy centers are open, which we can talk about in a little bit, the energy centers, but they are truly here. They take in everything. And not only do they take it in, but they mirror it back to people too. So I think I know 3 or 4 reflectors. So out of like the hundreds of charts that I've done, I've really only met a few people. And the interesting thing about reflectors is that every single one of the people whose charts that I did that was a reflector knew that they were a reflector before I did their chart. So I would give them the spiel, here's manifestors, generators, and then when I finally when I talked about reflectors, they were like, I'm a reflector. And I was like, no, you're not. No way. No chance. I was like, 1%, you're probably something else. And it turned out that they actually were reflectors. So super interesting, because it's recognizing that they saw themselves in that. And the thing with reflectors also is since they take on everything, they can like go into a room that's really high energy and they would be really high energy, or they could go into a low energy room and be very low energy. So reflectors truly and honestly are such a mirror to the people they surround themselves with, the places they go. Some examples. So I think I told you this, but Alma, she's the hugger, the hugging guru.
Explain who Alma is.
Yeah, so she basically goes all around the world and she hugs people and she heals people through that. And she is a reflector. And it's so interesting because Alma, when I actually recently got hugged by her, and I was watching the people around her, and there was some people that she just inspired so much happiness and joy in. And then there was some people that were crying, and there was people that were laughing uncontrollably. And so she was taking that and showing it back to them, like amplified, taking their energy and like reflecting it back to them. So Alma is one, and Sandra Bullock is also a reflector, very randomly.
Fascinating.
Yeah. But there's really and honestly not that many people that are reflectors. Kim Gordon is a reflector.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I actually, one of my friends, used to work with her, and I was telling my friend that, and she was like, "Oh yeah, she totally is." Like sometimes she would come in and just be super depleted, and sometimes she would come in and be like super amped up, and yeah,
Wow. And it just depends on their environment and who they were around. And
exactly.
so it sounds like these people have to be extra protected in some ways.
And that's with reflectors, the most important thing is cultivating your space. So cultivating your environment, your friend group, putting yourself in those situations that are the most high vibe, because that's what you're going to be taking in.
Wow. Holy shit. It's so fascinating just to like start breaking this down in such a way where it's like, I mean, all the different types of people that you see, celebrities and whatnot, and start, because honestly, if you had told me like Obama, if you just said his name, I would be like, oh, duh, Manifestor. You know what I mean?
I would have thought Manifestor too.
Right? It's like I just associate, because he transformed a lot, and like, but to see him as like a projector that's really interesting.
Yeah. And so speaking of presidents, energy types. So a lot of people, so Trump actually I did his birth chart and he's a manifesting generator, but I've also heard people talk about him being a manifestor, like a straight manifestor, which I could kind of see both. But regardless, he does have this very like polarizing energy where it's sort of like get on the train or get off the train. Like you're either on or you're not. And he's like cool with that. And so yeah, he either that or he's manifesting generator, where it kind of, I mean, that makes sense also because he does have that spark of manifestation within him as well. And yeah, but I always thought of him as a manifester. And then recently I came across his birth chart and it said that he was a manifesting generator. I was like, okay, wait, like my whole life's been shook. But yeah, and then there's a couple other presidents that have been manifestors, but I think there's only 4 total. I know George W. Bush is one, and I'm trying to think who else. I can't remember who the other ones are right now, but yeah, but it's surprisingly only a few of the presidents have been manifestors.
That's so fascinating. I know when I went to you, I mean, I came completely blind. I had looked it up a little bit and I was like, all right, I think I am a manifesting generator just based off of like my chart. No idea what this flow chart thing, how to read it or whatever. But I'm curious for somebody who's coming in completely cold, like what should they expect? Like, what are the benefits of doing this?
Yeah. So the first thing, we kind of talked a little bit about this, but really, like, if you're coming in cold, like, the most important thing to understand is your energy type, right? That's sort of step 1. And then after step 1, you can talk about, you can really get into like your authority. So your authority would be kind of like the next piece, right? So for example, like you are a emotional authority.
I forget.
Okay, I'll look at your chart. Well, I'm a splenic authority, but your authority tells you like how you make decisions best, right? So you might be sacral, actually.
I think I am.
Yeah,
sacral.
I think you're
it's
sacral.
A gut instinct thing.
It's the gut, yeah. So, and Sam, you're sacral too, by the way. Yeah. So with sacral authority, that is all about having that gut instinct, right? About 50% of the population has what's called emotional authority. So actually none of us have emotional authority, but emotional authority means you actually have to wait before you make decisions because you're supposed to sort of ride the waves of your emotion and make decision from like a neutral point. Whereas for us, I'm a splenic authority and you guys are sacral. So for us, what we can make those split second decisions. You guys based on your gut response. And then for me being a splenic authority, it has to do with like your instant hit of intuition. So the thing that I love about human design and authority is that none of the authorities actually reside in the mind. So it's all based on your body, right? And so often, I think when it comes to authority and making the best decisions for ourselves, we get stuck in the mind. We get trapped up there, and we think that we're basically going to have to like overthink something.
Mm-hmm.
And then what human design teaches is actually feel into it. What do you feel? Whether that's riding the wave of your emotion and then coming to a decision, or whether it's having that gut contraction or expansion that we talked about, or for people with splenic, it's really that instant flash of intuition.
Mm.
So that would sort of be the next kind of step. The other thing is your profile number. So profile numbers are essentially like how we like the clothes we wear out in the world, right? So it's essentially like tells us different things about like each of us and how we interact with people, how we best interact with even being alone, spending alone time. So for example, like I'm a 2/4, and I actually don't love the names that they give to the different profiles. So being a 2/4, it would be the hermit and the opportunist. And the hermit, that profile number is all about really retreating and being able to kind of go back into your cave and then recharge and then come back out into the world. And then the opportunist is like the super connector, right? So that's somebody who's like really good at networking and really good at going out there and interacting with people and really connecting. So that's just kind of an example. And then I think you were a 3. Okay, Ellen, you're a 5/1. And Sam, you are a 1/4. So Sam, remember I was talking about that 4, the opportunist. So you have that as well. So in other words, you're really good at connecting with people, and you're really good at networking and seeing ways that, this person should talk to this person, things like that. And then you guys both have a 1 in your profiles. So Sam, you're a 1/4, and then Ellen, you're a 5/1.
What does the order denote?
Well, they all just have names, and then they're kind of paired together. So essentially, the first line is called the investigator. So having that 1 in your profile. And the investigator is another one it's all about research. So it's like knowing all of the things about a certain subject, right? So if you tend to like research whatever you're diving into. And it's all about like having that information at hand before you kind of like start practicing anything. And then for you, Ellen, you being a 5/1, so the 5th line, it's called a heretic, but I don't love that word. So I call
it sounds so
negative.
Yeah, it's so aggressive. So I call it the hero. I like to flip it.
That's way better.
And the 5th line, being the 5/1, is really comes from a place of like people looking to you to like help them solve problems, people coming to you for advice. And it is truly like this becoming this like hero figure. What happens though, oftentimes with people with a 5th line, is that because they're seen as, somebody who can like fix everything, and it tends to be an issue of like people overstepping boundaries and just making sure making sure that you're setting, expectations about, taking care of yourself first before you can respond to the world's problems.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
the boundaries are a thing for
it
sure.
It is a thing. It's real. So I would say, again, manifesting, your type being manifesting generator, and then a generator is really number 1. Finding out what your authority is would be 2nd, and then finding out what your profile number is would be 3rd. And then there's other things to keep in mind when you're talking about a chart. Like the 4th thing that I look at when I'm doing a reading is really, it's the openness in your chart, right? So what that means is if you look at your body graph, what happens is there's all of these different shapes. Certain shapes have different colors and certain shapes are white. So the whiteness in your chart is is what we call the openness, right? So actually, you guys both have a lot of openness in your charts. Ellen, you have 6 open centers, and Sam, you have 7. So that's a lot. So more centers are open than they are defined. And so when we're talking about openness in a chart, remember earlier I was talking about conditioning? The white centers are really places that we take on energy from other people, okay? All of the centers represent different things, but the white centers, when you have it white, it means you're taking it on. When you have it colored in, it means you're giving it out to other people, okay? So for example, you guys both have open emotional center, and I have this too in my chart. And so that's the solar plexus. And if you're looking at your chart, it's going to be on the right-hand side, the bottom right triangle. So the open solar plexus is all about taking on emotional energy. So we, with open solar plexus, take on the emotions of those around us. And I think we talked about this in your reading too, that oftentimes if your partner's feeling sad or a friend's feeling sad, what we'll do is we'll actually take on that emotion and like almost use it like as if it's our own emotion. Feel it like it's our own emotion, when in fact it's coming from something outside of ourselves.
That makes so much sense. Like, Sam, I don't know if this has happened to you with Reiki, but this has happened to me several times with breath work. And it's something that I'm hyper aware of now that I need to watch and need to kind of work on. But when somebody's releasing emotion, like there's been several times where I will pick it up and I will start feeling like I need to cry too, you know? And I have to kind of like put that boundary there because obviously I'm guiding and facilitating. But yeah, if I'm not careful, I definitely kind of like soak it in. Like it's like I'm a sponge or something.
Right. And that's what we all tend to do, is not only absorb it, but again, like amplify it. So, you know, if somebody's crying and upset, like you're going to feel that, and you're also going to feel it like possibly more intensely. Yeah. So that one is so important. It's really the first thing that I look at when I'm looking at the open centers, because it really tells me a lot about people. And like I said before, about 50% of the population actually has it open and 50% has it defined. So
are those the more empathetic people then, I guess? Like,
right.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, listen, if you have a defined solar plexus, like you can absolutely be empathetic as well. But it's truly like the people, like the empaths are the ones that are sampling all of those energies and taking them in.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I think just naturally being like naturally empathic myself, I definitely, this was a game changer for me, finding this out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And same for you, Sam. You know, it's open for you, along with, you know, 6 other energy
I know.
centers.
I was like, that's a lot of stuff to take on. I was like, no wonder I'm always exhausted when I come home.
Right. It's so true. Yeah. And actually, it's really interesting because you guys are both supposed to, you both have your sacral chakra. So the sacral, which is going to be the red square on it's second to the bottom of a chart. Being generators and manifesting generators, you have those defined. Me being a projector, I have it open. Same with manifestors and reflectors. So that's really a motor center. Okay, so that's like what's going to propel you to continue to do the work and feel lit up when you are doing the work. And the truth is that when you're doing work that you love, you can do it indefinitely. The points where we feel depleted or tired or uninspired, those are really great places to come back and look at what are we doing that's making us feel this way. Because if you were really enjoying and loving what you were doing, you could do it forever.
Oh, so if you feel like you're grinding, like we probably both did towards the end of our careers, then that's a huge sign that,
for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the biggest misconception too. I feel like a lot of generators come to me and they're like, "Well, I'm definitely a projector because I'm tired all the time." And, projectors, we don't have that sustained energy, so we do need a lot of rest. But usually it's due to conditioning. It's due to the fact that we're all taught that we have to grind and hustle and work. And even if we hate what we're doing, we still have to do it.
Right.
So that's the causes of the burnout. That's when you start feeling like depleted. Um, and those are really great moments to look at, really assess everything around you and make sure that it is truly in alignment with what you want to be doing. Um, and the other thing for anybody with the defined sacral really has to do with that gut response. I know we kind of talked a little bit about it, but I'd say for both of you, also, and 70% of the population, that it is truly about using that gut response, like to navigate your next steps. So if somebody asks you, and you can do it by yes no questions. Those are the best ways to kind of identify which way your gut wants to go, yes or no. So yeah, I would say using that gut to say, like, is this truly lighting me up? Is this inspiring me? Am I excited about this? And you can ask questions and see how your body feels and truly lean into this feeling of expansion if something's a yes, or even a contraction. And it could even feel like a physical pull towards something, it could feel like a push away from something. So I would invite both of you to explore those things within your body when you are, going through something where you're feeling tired or you're feeling uninspired, etc.
Wow.
That's super helpful. I'm totally going to try that.
Okay, so for you, for instance, like your projector and your sacral is open.
Yeah.
And you were saying that you need a little bit more rest, or like you tend to like get fatigued a little bit more often. How do you determine like what's a grind and what's not? Is it just because like it's even more pronounced, like you just are just done?
Well, I mean, I think I've always felt like I was sort of low energy, and honestly, after discovering human design, I was like, okay, this makes a lot of sense. But the truth is that for me, I get energetic bursts, and we all do, no matter what energy type you are. The main difference is going to be that I can only do it for a shorter amount of time than like somebody like you or Sam who could do it for longer periods of time. I just don't have that motor that keeps me going. So I can get really inspired and excited about something and do it for like 3 hours. And then after that, I'm like tapped out and I need like a nap. So, but yeah, I mean, we all kind of work in those ways. The difference is really for projectors, what I would say is building in that rest time on the back end has been transformative for me. So if I know I'm going to do something and exert a lot of energy, I make sure that I have a day of downtime or a couple of days of downtime or at least a couple hours of downtime before I exert myself again. And it's also sort of like this battery pack. Like if you think about a battery, right? So you guys, generators and MGs, like you start the day with a full battery, right? And so you just go through the day and you're like going through the battery. And the way that you kind of recharge that battery is by getting inspired and by getting lit up and doing things. And so you have like a very rechargeable battery.
Oh, this actually reminds me, Sam, of like, I was telling Sam the story about how I went to Daybreaker one day and I woke up at like freaking the butt crack of dawn. It was like 4 a.m. or something. And the yoga class was at 5, it was like this whole thing. And then the dance party was at 6 to 8, like in the morning. I'd never done this before prior to this time. And, woke up at 4, went to the yoga, did the whole thing, left around like 7:30 and was like high on life, like so like just like pinging off the walls, so energetic. And that lasted all day, and I had to meet up a friend that night for drinks, and I mean, I went to midnight, and I had only gotten maybe 3 or 4 hours of sleep, and I'm somebody who needs their sleep for
Yes.
sure, I feel
Yeah.
it. But that day, oh my god, I was like it was almost like I couldn't be brought down.
Yeah. And especially also being an MG. So MGs, like I said, the creative energizer bunnies. So like for you, the variety is the spice of life. So like going to the dance party and then going to drinks and then doing this and then doing that, like that's all lighting you up, all of the
Mm.
different things. And so that's all recharging your battery. So, and then, yeah, so for projectors, reflectors, and manifestors, it really is about, again, like resting, because the way we recharge our battery is truly like through rest,
Mhm.
through literally, and rest can look like so many different things. Rest for me could be sitting on the couch or doing a meditation or going to a yin yoga class, or it definitely looks different for everybody, but it's how, or taking a bath, it's how your body recharges itself.
Wow. So how does the human design chart actually also speak to partnerships and relationships and things like that too?
Yeah, so when you're doing any kind of like partner session, um, the first thing that I always look at is, again, these energy centers, the open versus defined, because places where you're open and your partner is defined, those are places where you're going to take on things from them. So if your partner is a defined emotional center and you're open, I would say definitely be cautious, because if they're feeling sad, you're going to in turn feel sad. And and it can also be other things like the heart center, which is like your self worth, your willpower. That one is all about, so if you're open and your partner's defined, it could be that they, since it has to do with willpower, like they really motivate you to like do things. They get you really excited and inspired to do things. So it's really looking at those kind of ways that the energy centers interact. The other thing with partner charts that's really interesting is that all of the charts have gates, right? So there's 64 gates, and then there's the gates create 32 channels. So the gates are the little numbers that you'll see within your chart, and they all reside within those energy centers. So with the gates, you can have a gate lit up, and so you'd have half of a channel basically lit up, and then you'd have the other half of the channel could be open. And so if you have it completely filled in that channel, so the gate on both sides are both lit up, that's a defined channel. So oftentimes in relationships, we have what's called hanging gates. So we'll have half of the channel lit up, and then you'll find that you're magnetically attracted to somebody who has the other half of that gate. So it creates a channel. And I've tested this out in my own chart, and it's absolutely true. So yeah, and it's super fascinating because all of the channels represent different things. So your gates could create like the channel of, like inspiration. And so together you guys are like super inspired when you hang out. It could, there's other different channels. There's like a channel of emoting. So it's like maybe you guys are super moody when you hang out with each other. But those hanging gates, and if you have like the corresponding gates, you're magnetically attracted to that person.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. So it's really cool. I love looking at partner charts. Like my new favorite thing to do. So, and it also, not even partners, it could be with your parents, it could be with your children, it could be with your friends, your business partners, and looking at how your charts interact. For example, another energy center. So 7/8 of the population has the very top triangle open, and that one is all about inspiration, right? So the majority of the population has it open, meaning they take on inspiration from things outside of themselves. So people, places, things, songs, music, books. And then 1/8 of the population has it defined. So, meaning that inspiration actually comes from within themselves. So, like, I actually have that. And, it's something I've noticed as well that I'll just be sitting, on the couch or laying in bed, and all of a sudden, like, I have an idea. I'm like, oh, this is what I'm going to do. Or I'm in the shower. That's where, like, most of my good ideas come from. So, it's really interesting too, if you had an open center and then your partner had the defined center, it would be really interesting to see like them get super inspired by you, right? Um, so yeah, so that's a couple other things, and then also partners with, for example, like people who have that sacral motor center, so like generators and MGs, and then dating people who are open, so like projectors, reflectors, and manifesting generators. That is actually it's really interesting because if you're around that person, and one of my like best friends who I was with the other day, she's a projector, her husband's a generator, and she said, she was like, he just gets so excited about everything. And it inspires me to get excited about everything. And so
That's really cool.
yeah. So you can really take on that energy from somebody else. And so it's just like being aware of those different things is super important in pretty much like all relationships. And the other thing with human design, with all of our charts is actually, so our charts were inherited from our grandparents.
Wow.
So, yeah. So our chart is actually a combination of our grandparents' charts. And so one of the things with human design that we talk about, so I've done my mom's chart. She's actually a projector as well. But it's interesting because we're sort of reliving those patterns like that my mom experienced with her parents, and then the way that I'm experiencing things with her. Because again, like myself and my grandparents both have basically similar human design charts.
Really?
Yeah.
Is this on your maternal or?
It's all maternal and paternal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So we're all sort of a combination of our grandparents' charts. That was like so mind blowing to me. It was like how my mom and my grandma interact, and then sort of mirrors like how I interact with my mom. And
that makes so much sense though. Because I feel like the older I get and the more my relationship to my parents evolves, the more I see them literally almost in some strange ways. I would never tell them this probably directly, but in a lot of ways doing things that I'm like, oh my God, Dad, you are so much like Siddhi. It's crazy. It's like they're just the same, but then I can see like how that totally almost like flips their relationships in some cases to other people in our families.
Yeah.
Definitely. And also I think about like my grandparents as well, and how I've had I've been fortunate enough to be really close to all of my grandparents, but I've always had such a deep connection to them. And I think that it is so interesting because it's probably, we are so similar.
Yeah. I was like literally getting my hair colored this morning and having this deep conversation about like my grandmother, like because my colorist, he's half Chinese, half Japanese, and I want to say he's like third generation now in the United States. So his Japanese side of the family, they were in the internment camps and whatnot, and we were talking specifically about our grandmothers, like our paternal grandmothers, and my grandmother had her feet bound and like was in that very, very old school traditional era of China, and I don't know, it was just really fast. It was a fascinating conversation because I was telling him how there was always a little bit of a language barrier. So I never really knew her very well, like got to have a heart to heart with her, for instance. But I think I take on a lot of her traits. Like I think I take after her quite a bit. Right. Even in the way I look,
Yeah.
And so it's really interesting to see.
And
that.
I think, we talked about conditioning a little bit earlier too. But and we talked about all the ways that you can take on things, but a lot of what we also take on and it's reflected in our human design chart is that like intergenerational
Mm.
things. Like it could be intergenerational trauma, it could be even like genetically, like taking on things from like the generations above us, and that feeds into our conditioning. Um, and it shows up in our charts as well.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that with human design, I think I've always sort of been like a seeker, like an intuitive person, but my journey really started, when I think when I was like 14 or 15. And I got my first tarot deck, and then I started reading like the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And then I was like really trying to figure out like what else is going on besides this physical plane, like from a very young age. And then sort of fast forward to 2014 when I found my Reiki teacher, and I became a Reiki master in 2014. And that was a point where I really was like tapped in. I started tapping into like into my intuition, intuitive guidance. And then I think it was probably 2.5 years ago, within a week, I had three people come to me and say, "Have you heard of this thing called human design?"
Oh, wow.
And it's one of those moments where, like, okay, I have to pay attention here because this is like the universe again showing it keeps showing me like human design, human design. So I looked it up, and immediately after I found my chart, I think I was hooked. And I was like, wow, nothing's really made this much sense to me out of all of the different modalities that I've explored. And yeah, so it led me to finding my teacher. And then I started studying human design. And then I would just read people's charts. Like I'd go to lunch with a friend and be like, oh, let's look at your chart and do an impromptu reading. And then, yeah, it kind of led me to last year when I fully kind of stepped into doing readings, and I did a couple of talks and things like that. So, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
rad. I love how the universe just kinda, like, pulls you in and, like,
totally.
I
like, sends you
know.
the little,
It was
like,
like dip your toe
signs.
in and then
What do you think is, like, the biggest, like, takeaway or piece of wisdom that you've gotten from just even doing this kind of work?
oh my gosh, so many. I think that when I discovered human design, I really it was sort of a confirmation for me of all of the things that I knew about myself but never fully accepted.
Mhm.
So things like for projectors, the most important thing for us is waiting for the invitation. And I've always found that when I do push too hard and I'm like, no, I have to do the thing, I have to do it, I have to do it, it never works out. And so for me, learning to wait for the invitation has been truly transformative because it gives me permission to do what I love and really trust that the right people are going to find me and that the
Mm.
right people are going to seek me out, and that I will be recognized for what I'm doing as opposed to pushing, right? So I think that's, been so transformative. And it's just, again, like I said, it's always been something that I fought against because we've been so conditioned to hustle and you got to get out there, you got to do
Yeah.
and then definitely the rest, being able to give myself permission to rest. Um, and so actually in my chart, I have a defined heart center. And so that's the willpower, and the heart center. It does give me those bursts of energy. So I feel like I do have these like very creative bursts, and then I'd feel really depleted and I wouldn't understand why. And I would force myself to like get back out there and work more and do this. And so it's given me permission to really not put that pressure on myself,
Mhm.
and recognize that in order for me to be the most productive person, it's about being fully rested. And it's about being recharged so that I can go out there and give it my all.
That's such an important lesson, I feel like. And I feel like when you do look at your chart, it becomes very tangible. You see it, like you just see kind of like your patterns, and suddenly there's kind of like this reason why, you know? And for me, I know after getting the reading from you, I think seeing how I get my hands into a lot of different things, like, it's something I used to kinda get down on myself about, and
Mhm.
I was also even, like, I would say a little shamed by, like, family or, colleagues or whatever, it's almost kinda like I don't have a focus. Do you know what I mean? I changed my major 5 times in college. All these things that kind of, seem like bad negative ways to go. And I think now understanding that that's just who I am as a person, I can work with it.
Definitely, 100%. I think that this is the biggest thing for manifesting generators that I always hear is that there's this there's this stigma that they're scattered or they don't have direction or they are doing so many things at once. And the truth is that that's all conditioning. That's all things that again like society's told us like you got to pick your lane, you got to stay in your lane. And that's not necessarily true because um, nobody's one dimensional. Nobody just wants to do one thing, no matter what your energy type is, right? So it is about what really truly lights you up, what inspires you, and that could be, having a podcast. It could be creating art. It could be making music. It could be all of those things. Um, so, and that's the other thing that I love about human design is that there is, human design is truly meant to be a complementary tool to everything else, and I think so often we get caught up in like there's just the one way to do things or there's just this one modality. And I don't think that's true at all. I think that there's many different things and human design is just one tool for us to learn more about ourselves. And what I love about it is that, I think there's 2 billion different human design chart configurations, like crazy. And so every single person is so unique. And I think that what happens is, society and even being in school when you're younger, you're taught that you have to like learn one way or you have to do certain things one way. And the truth is, like, how could that possibly be true when we're all so unique?
For someone who is looking for a reader and who is unfamiliar with this space, what would you say about that? We have a lot of conversations around, do you only get word of mouth recommendations? Do you only go to people where, someone else has seen them? So what would you recommend as a starting place?
Yeah, I think that there's quite a few human design readers here in LA and all across the world. But I think the most important thing is finding somebody that you resonate with and really and honestly following that, whether it's like gut response or however you get those pings of knowing, following that intuition and truly trusting that. And I think that will guide you to the right person. But yeah, it's just basically like who speaks to you about in a way that resonates with your soul, I think is the most important way that you can find somebody. And that's the other thing I love about human design readers and even being in the community of readers is that we all sort of offer different takes on this one specific thing. So we all have our own unique way of viewing things and approaching readings, and so yeah, it's about really finding the one that resonates with you.
I love it.
Are there any like resources that anybody should go to if they're curious about this before they even go to a reader?
Absolutely. So you can go to so there's free charts are available online. That being said, you might get your chart and then feel instantly overwhelmed like I did.
Like me.
when I first discovered it. But so mybodygraph.com, that's where you can calculate your free chart. You can also go to my website and I have a link that you can get your free chart there as well. So you can absolutely find those resources. The other thing I would say is, getting a book. There's like tons and tons of books about human design. One of my favorite ones is called Understanding Human Design. It's by my personal teacher, and her name's Karen Curry Parker. So you can absolutely, go to a local bookstore and pick that up, or ask them to order it for you, as opposed to, Amazon, or you can Amazon.
Well, thank you so much. This has been like super enlightening. And I mean, I feel like one of these days, actually, this is actually a question I had. Once you get a human design reading, can you go back for another? Like, does it work in that same way? Like,
yeah, so that's actually a really great question. I would say that probably like 90% of my clients like have one reading and then they're like good. I have had a couple people come back if they are questioning like certain elements, like, hey, I have a question about my career. Can you look into that? Or hey, relationships. Can you look into that component of my chart? So
like deep diving.
The total deep dive. But usually if you get one, I tend to be pretty thorough. And I always encourage people at the end. I'm like, if you want to learn more, like there's resources out there. You can always come back and see me again. But yeah, usually it's like one and done.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Man, well then that actually feels really attainable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of like if you are at all interested at all, just to see what it may say.
Absolutely.
Take it or leave it, right?
Yeah.
It's just like another tool.
Yeah, and definitely, there's different readers who are offering like specific things. So there's certain like courses for generators, and there's courses for projectors, and just like building your business or being an entrepreneur. So there are different angles that you can kind of take. But I would say for the most part, just getting a reading and finding out like the baseline of everything that you are is like such a great place to just like have that awareness.
Thank you so much. I think this was so helpful, and I'm really excited to share this information on our podcast because I think that people will really gravitate to it.
I agree.
I hope so. I think so too.
So if any of you are interested in working with Mara or learning more, you can find her at Creative Collective LA on Instagram or creativecollectivela.com online.
And if you guys like this episode and want to hear more, please take the time to rate and review us. It helps us continue this work.
Thanks.
Thank you so much for listening.
Music for Woo New is composed by Adam Miller.